Now, I have a question for you. Obviously, you're working with a lot of people, and unlike you probably heard these stories before where you've had singers and they're working with producers, and producers will try to sign them to like these production deals in hopes of, the revenue was flowing through the producer. And even though it's on the strength of that singer's talent, that singer is kind of they're not getting paid. So you were kind of, it seems like based on what you're describing, you were able to kind of pivot and not be one of those singers
Right.
signed
I turned down those
through a
deals. I
producer.
remember uh Donald D, he had this song, his brother had a song called The WAP. They offered me a deal that the girl singer Malira wound up taking. Like I could look at
Yes.
different artists and say, oh, that was the deal I turned down. But I knew enough to know like that's a third party, like, so a lot of these with the thing with Andre Cleveland now, it was a production deal. Donald D, I think his name was.
Yes.
I've had
Yes.
like maybe 4 or 5 different, production deal situations that came my way, but I knew that was like I knew what that was. I knew what that was. Yeah, I knew enough to know. No, you want to be proper to the label.
So,
So I
so
I I, I kind of shot away from them, and like I said, then Andre came. By the time Andre came around, Andre from the very beginning knew he was like, he saw star potential. He was like, oh my God, you're my witness. You know what I'm saying? Like but at the time, there was a gentleman by the name of Paris Davis who was A&R in at Epic, being that I was a Sony writer, and that's when Sony had just taken over from CBS, and that bought that whole thing. So they had a lot of money, but very limited acts, artists that were signed. Like I think at the time, the only writers that were signed to Sony Publishing was myself, Michael Jackson, and I believe Mariah Carey. Like that was like I was in there that early on in the game. So Paris Davis had offered me a demo deal at first. Um, and I'm like, let's see. And then when Andre came around, he offered me a deal. And then somehow or another, like, I don't know, after a while, I had like every major from Gerald Busby to Quincy Jones to Tommy Mottola and all of these people are after me. Um, but it really started with Paris Davis and Andre. And because I had been working so much with Uptown, like I want to say that was around the time I did Got Me Waiting with Heavy. And I was doing stuff with Ness, and I was doing stuff with Father MC, and I was doing stuff. I was definitely doing a lot of work with Uptown.
Okay, if we step
I don't
back
want to
though,
go too far, so I'm
yeah,
gonna
no,
stop.
we gonna step back because I guess some of those songs would be interesting to start to hear though. But so you're saying that the very first you've got your publishing in place, and the very first thing that when we talk about Uptown was Nesto, it's starting to work with him, and that's how you got introduced to Andre. Was this before the situation with Guy, or had it was the first situation with doing Nesto and
Oh,
getting
that
into?
was no, God was before that. God was maybe like in 91 or something. See, I knew Aaron from the church. Like I told you, my church was popular. Everybody came to my church. Whoever
Okay.
was
I
good
mean,
singer to me.
Nesto was 92. Nesto was his first single was 1992.
Right. I started working with Nesto in 91 though.
That's what I'm gonna say because he was working on an album. Because you're talking about Horace Brown here, because there's one particular track that both Nesto Velasquez and Horace Brown recorded. We only ever got to hear the Horace Brown track, which was "Let It Rain." Did you work on
Let
that
it
track?
rain, let it
Yeah,
rain, let
yeah.
it rain. The
Because
sun won't set at
Nesto recorded
night.
that as
Come
well.
around my way so that we can play and I can. That's the song you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So was you singing background vocals on that?
Probably. I worked on, yeah, I probably co-wrote that. And I worked with Lede, which was one of the groups
Hold on,
at the time.
Nesto Velasquez. He's got an unreleased album, probably like you have somewhere in the was Uptown days. Was you singing background vocals on the Nesto Velasquez album?
I sung, I produced, and I wrote on Nesto's project.
Do you know a track called Banking that he sang?
Give me all your banking. I know every Nesto.
Wow.
I was and James Jones. Yeah, I know all of them.
You don't understand. We waited when we first heard your record on Uptown that come out on a soundtrack. We waited for your album. When we first heard Nesto Velasquez Personality, we waited for his album. It's very similar to the Tammy Lucas situation in that we heard a voice on different tracks. We only ever got one single from her, really, and we never got that album that we was dying for it to come out. So it's in. I didn't know that you worked on Horace Brown and Nesto Velasquez albums.
Yeah, I worked with them.
This is what
I know all of those Nestos, so that's why I'm able to sing them 40, how many years later off the top of my head, like I just heard them yesterday.
I've only heard, like, obviously the single Personality, and I've heard 3 more tracks that he recorded. There was
Let It Rain.
There was Let It Rain, and there was another ballad. There was like this 6-minute ballad, which is incredible. I can't remember.
Another one. If it were me and you, we'd never be lonely. I think Andre singing I remember all of those songs.
So did you do Horace Brown's Uptown album? Because he's got an unreleased Uptown Records album. Did you do?
I worked with not the stuff that he did on Motown, but stuff. Yeah, me and Horace was supposed to do a duet together when we were on Uptown.
So you worked on that unreleased Uptown album.
They wanted me to sing a song about like having an abortion, and I was like, I'm not doing that shit. So those were some of the problems that were like, back to the other gentleman that asked, was it, beneficial? Like, it made me like have a voice to know, like, I don't have to do that, So
do you think that like you basically contractually free? So you weren't tied to anyone. So they couldn't force you. They couldn't hold anything over your head.
Well, I did wind up signing to Uptown. Yeah, I had a major deal with Uptown, but at the time we're speaking about, I wasn't signed yet. I wound up signing with Uptown in, I think, 92 or 93.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that category.
And somewhere in between
us, or even loving us, on which I did miss you.
What was it like growing up?
Still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No, okay.
They don't understand what Jonas' voice meant in all spirits.
Play it.
And all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.